Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
This woman's legacy just on either side of her family is beyond compare. You hear about royal families of professional wrestling. This lady right here, grandfather Grizzly Smith, father Sam Houston, aunt former WWF Women's Champion Rockin' Robin, WWF Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts is her uncle. That's just her paternal side. Her maternal side, grandfather Nick Roberts, who was a promoter and professional wrestler. Grandmother Lorraine Johnson, who was one of the very first female wrestling attractions. And her mother, the Perfect 10 baby doll. Today we are talking about third generation NWA legacy, the Perfect Knockout. Samantha Starr, how are you today?
I am fantastic. Happy to be here.
Listen, I'd hate to list that on your resume just to see who you are with the family tree.
You know, I actually, one of my t-shirt designs that I created is my family tree, and in the branches of the tree are everyone from my family. So, I mean, why not make money off of it, right?
Hey, take it and run. You know, I do think it's funny that your mom's given last name is Roberts, yet your uncle, who your family's name is Smith, took the name Roberts and became Jake the Snake.
Correct. He was actually sitting backstage in a locker room and was throwing around names as to what he wanted to use. And because of the tie with my mom's side, he was like, Jake the Snake Roberts. And it fits so perfect. So why not, right?
Hey, take it and run. And he created a legacy, and you're doing the same for yourself as Samantha Starr here in the NWA.
There you go.
You know, we do have to dispel a rumor, because I've talked to a lot of wrestling fans, and they all, for some reason, think that your mom actually married Tully Blanchard, and that Tessa is a relative of yours by blood.
That is not true. My mother married Sam Houston, and they had two girls together. They have my sister, who her name is Micah. She's a guitarist and a singer in a band. And then they had me. My mom did work with Tully Blanchard a lot in the 80s. They were on the road all the time. She managed him. She was his valet, but they were never an item. They were never close. The fun thing about Tessa is her stepfather is actually Magnum TA. So even though my mom was in both of their worlds with Magnum and Tully, she ended up marrying the 6'4" cowboy. So Tessa is not a relative, but she is a third generation wrestler, just not in this family tree.
Yeah, but linked through your mother via association of work.
Correct.
I am surprised you are not like 8 feet tall. Your mom's 6 feet tall. Your dad's 6'4", your uncle's 6'6", your grandfather's 6'8". Like, how are you not a giantess?
My grandfather was 7 foot. Grizzly was 7 foot tall. My sister got all the height. She's 6'3", and I'm 5'6.5". So I don't know. I maybe got dropped a couple times. Maybe they were practicing wrestling moves whenever I was a toddler, and I just stunted my growth. But yeah, I'm feisty at 5'6", but not one of the giants like the rest of my family.
Well, I did read that you started taking bumps at 14, so that might have something to do with it.
That is correct. I was at a show. I traveled with my mom a lot growing up. Anytime she was on a wrestling convention, anytime she had an independent show, I was always right there by her side. I was helping like pack bags and run gimmick tables, and how to set up chairs, and how to set up the ring, and how to do business and talk to fans and talk to promoters, and how to represent yourself as a woman in such a man's world, but do it respectfully. So we were at a show in Columbia, South Carolina. The wrestling show was CWA. And I was 14, and I was sat there working the gimmick table. My mom looked at me. She was like, "You want to learn how to take a bump?" And I was like, "What?" "Yes." She was like, all right, go in there. And I got into the ring for the first time with the insane lumberjack Timber. He was CWA's heavyweight champion. And I got into the ring, and of course, I'm terrified out of my mind, but my adrenaline's going and I'm excited. And we're standing in the center of the ring, and he was like, all right, fall back. And I was like, huh? Yeah, you want me to consciously throw myself on the ground. And you have such a mental block whenever you're learning how to be a professional wrestler, because the first thing you're taught how to do is how to protect yourself. And how better than to protect yourself than learning how to take the falls and learning what it feels like by yourself before you get slammed around. So whenever you're a baby and you're learning how to walk, your brain's telling you, catch yourself, don't fall, don't fall. Do whatever you have to do, bust out whatever ninja moves you got to bust out, but do not hit the ground. So here I'm 14 and I'm trying to tell my brain, hey, fall on purpose. And it just wasn't happening. So thankfully he was really patient. And he was like, okay, what I do, go ahead and grab the second rope and squat down, and we'll do it from a lower level. So I grabbed the rope and I squatted down, and I was able to start hitting the mat and learning how it felt like, and learning what it was not supposed to feel like. The hardest thing for me in wrestling was learning how to tuck my chin. So whenever you fall, whenever you're bracing for the fall, so you don't get whiplash, so you don't knock yourself out, is to tuck your chin to your chest, so that way your head's protected, right? I could not for the life of me get that down. So I was hitting the mat and hitting my head with the same velocity every single time, just smashing my head onto the mat. The next day I woke up and I was so sore, so sore. I couldn't even lift my head off the pillow. It was just the whiplash, the stiffness. It was rough. But they asked me, they're like, do you want to do it again? And I was like, hell yeah, sign me up. And I was hooked from the age of 14. It was in my blood. I had to do it.
Well, it is genetic, apparently, because here we are now, all these years later, from your mom's time to you, because, you're only like 19 at this point, going out into the Crockett Cup.
You think I'm 19 right now?
Let's play it up.
Oh, gosh. I am not 19. I am a little bit older. I've been wrestling for a little while longer. I'm 30.
You didn't have to tell anybody.
I'm not ashamed of it. I've done a lot of cool stuff in my life. I've jumped out of airplanes. I've flown an airplane. I've jumped off a bridge. I've wrestled all over the country. I've held multiple championships. I used to own and operate a Sonic drive-in. Like, I've done a lot. I've got a college degree in culinary arts. Anything I want to do, I go out and do it. That's just, age is just a number.
There you go. And you're kicking butt in the NWA. Billy Corrigan is your boss. You get to sit there. Your mom's going to be with you at the Crockett Cup this weekend. So this is just full circle from the 80s into the 2020s. What's it like, from your mom telling you, hey, take this bump, if you want to learn, to now being ringside and watching you in not only the same profession, but in the same organization, where didn't she knock out Jim Cornette at one of the Crockett Cups, or was it one of the American Bash?
She and Jim Cornette have gone round and round like Tom and Jerry, so it's hard to keep track. But they've definitely had history together. But to go full circle, to go from, being a little kid and looking up to my mom because she was just an absolute amazing mother, to understanding the different persona that she had in the wrestling world. And one of the coolest things I get to do is I get to work like the gimmick table with her, where we're selling pictures and we're signing autographs and everything. And I get to hear people come up and tell me about how much of an impact my mom had on their lives, and how every Saturday morning they were sitting there eating cereal with their grandparents watching wrestling, and how special of a moment that was. And my mom was a part of that. So not only does she mean just the world to me, she also means the world to so many people that she's never even met. So for her to be ringside at Crockett Cup is such an honor to me. I cannot thank Billy enough for giving me these opportunities to have those moments with my mom, because yeah, I can watch wrestling from the 80s. There's so many different apps and Peacock and YouTube and everything where you can relive those moments, but to actually share those moments live with her. And what's so funny, the funniest thing about my mom is she forgets that what I'm doing in the ring. I'm no longer the perfect knockout Samantha Starr. I'm no longer a 16-year veteran of the ring. I'm no longer a champion. I'm no longer that. I'm her little girl. And she just, if I get hit, she immediately is like, I'm going to get in the ring. I'm going to go and protect my daughter. So being able to look over and see just how into it and how passionate she is such a blessing for me.
Yeah, that's incredible, especially the familial tie and how tight you two are together. I've met your Uncle Jake before, and he was very nice to me, but you always had this sense of you didn't know if Jake was telling you the truth or he was working you. Is that what like family reunions are for wrestling families, where you're kind of working each other and selling the gimmick to each other because you're so used to selling it to the audience?
So family interactions are very, I've never had a different family. So I don't know what a normal family does. I don't know what it's like to be a part of someone that eats dinner and watches Jeopardy and, talks about, hey, honey, how was your day? I've never had that. So to me, the way I describe my family to people, we're just a bunch of Rolling Stones and carnies. Like that's who we are, and we're such entertainers. So it doesn't just shut off as soon as we leave the ring or go through the curtain. Like that's who we are. We're the center of attention. We're loud. We're crazy. We're over the top. We're the type of people that are like, hold my beer, watch this. So that's how we've always been. So we might be a little dysfunctional, but we're a hell of a time.
It sounds like you guys are a great time, but it also sounds like you guys are down to business, because just this past Tuesday on Powerrr, you faced against Kylie Page. So there's a lot going into not only the Crockett Cup, but the world of putting on the show and coming down from the show. When you do the tapings now and you work with somebody like Kylie, you've been here for 16 years in the industry. How significant is it to you that you step in the ring and not only take care of yourself, but take care of your partner or your opponent, because you guys got to make money together?
So for me, the most important thing whenever I step into the ring is making sure that we both walk away unharmed. Yes, I am in it to win. I am in it to be a star. I am in it to make the company money, to make myself money, but I never put anybody else's life or their health in jeopardy. That's just not good sportsmanship. So yes, my goal at the end of the day is to pin her shoulders on the mat, 1, 2, 3, but I would never intentionally go out there and hurt somebody. Throughout my time in wrestling, because I had such strong morals when it came to the wrestling business, and I care so much about making sure that people are safe. The majority of my career, I've been brought into different promotions all over the country to wrestle their newer girls, to wrestle their green girls that don't really know what they're doing, to make sure that they're protected. The show must go on, but I don't ever want to make anyone feel like they're genuinely in danger. So a lot of my career was building those girls up and showing them, hey, this can be amazing. Yes, I'm going to beat you at the end of the day, but you're not going to be hurt, and you're going to be like, that was a really good match for me.
I do have to ask, your mom was the perfect 10, and I don't mean to keep bringing up your mom, but your nickname's the Perfect Knockout. Who was the one that dubbed you the Perfect Knockout? Was this just because playing off your mom's legacy, or was this because you actually knocked somebody out and they're like, let's tie the two together?
I may have knocked somebody out, not confessing to anything, but I am pretty deadly. Um, and the name came, so my ring name is the Perfect Knockout Samantha Starr. It was a play off the Perfect 10, of course. And then when I was coming up with who I wanted to be in wrestling and what I wanted to portray and my character and who I am, I didn't ever see myself as a diva. And when I was building who I am, it was the Divas title. It was the pretty pink butterfly one. And that was just never me. I've always been kind of like a gritty hard hitter. I've always been into like sports and outdoors and going and swimming with sharks and just doing anything crazy. So being a diva wasn't really what I wanted to be in wrestling. So the Impact or TNA at the time had the TNA knockouts. And I was like, well, shoot, I feel more like a knockout than I do a diva, to be honest. And I may have earned that title. Um, but that's where the playoff of the Perfect 10 and the Perfect Knockout came about.
I dig it. See, I like when the nicknames all tie in and they make sense. You know, like I was watching just this morning, actually, I recorded Dark Side of the Ring, and they were talking about Chris Candido, which is a tragedy, and we all miss Chris. But his brother kept calling him Cook because it stuck because he couldn't say Chris, so his nickname was Cook forever. So like I like when there's a good story behind it, and it's not just like, oh well, we'll just call you this because it fits your image. Like there's more to it than that.
Samantha Starr, even that name came from a deeper meaning. When my mom was pregnant with me, she kept thinking, okay, I'm going to have Samantha Starr Smith. That was supposed to be my birth name, was Samantha Starr Smith. And mom was at the playground one day and she was thinking about calling out, hey, Samantha Starr. And she was like, oh, that sounds like a stripper. I'm not calling a 2-year-old a stripper name. So she just pictured like, oh gosh, I can't give my daughter an exotic dancer's name. So then she settled on my birth name, which is Michaela Joy, because she could tell like whenever she was carrying me that I was going to be just a happy person. So whenever I was creating who I wanted to be in wrestling, why not use the name that I was supposed to have? Samantha Starr. And I even have a tattoo on the inside of my lip that says I'm a star.
Dang, okay, that looks like it hurt.
It did, but I'm that type of person that, heck, why not? Let's do it. So
See, that's such a far better story than I would have thought, because like your dad's given name is Michael, and it's
yeah,
like, oh, I didn't get I didn't get a junior, so I got Michaela.
my shoot name Michaela is a mix up of my mom's real name, which is Nicola, and Sam's real name, which is Michael. So she mixed the two together because at the time Michaela wasn't a common girl's name. It was very, very uncommon. So she didn't know that there was an effeminate version of Michael. She just threw some letters together and said Yahtzee. And that's how I ended up with my name. So when Samantha Starr came around, why not use it? She created the perfect name, and that way it ties into meaning.
So it's all full circle. Everything works out for you that way.
Yeah.
Now, you said your sister's 6'3". Is she the introvert of the family, or is she also a carny?
She's definitely a carny, but she's more introverted. She is a musician. She's amazing at the guitar. She sings. She has a band called the Never Nots. She has a song called Sun Showers, and she paints, but she's more like artistic and creative, and like she's got so many college degrees I can't keep track. Like she's super, super smart. So I was like, well, if you've got the height and the brains, I guess I'm just gonna go punch people in the face.
If it works for you, it works for you. But you're the one that can cook.
Correct. I didn't want to go to college. I had no desire to go to college. I'm super, super smart, but I never wanted to sit in a classroom for 4 years. I wanted to go and do something. I wanted to give purpose back to the world. I wanted to create an impact. I wanted to make something memorable. So whenever I was 16 years old, I went to a training camp in, I think it was Hendersonville, North Carolina. And I met with John Laurinaitis, who was one of the head talent relations, like booking people. And I walked in and I introduced myself and I was like, hey, this is who I am. And he looked at me and he said, go to college, get a degree. He said, do not apply for WWE until you do this. And I thought he was crazy. I was like, I'm 16. I'm so close. I have 2 years left, and then I can go to this company and help you guys make money. And he was like, no, go to college. So immediately at 16, I was like, I've got 2 years. I've got 2 years to figure out what I'm going to do. What am I going to go to college for? And I started out doing business administration and accounting. I thought getting a degree in being a CPA was going to be a route, like a backup plan, just in case wrestling didn't work out. Because wrestling, you don't know how long your shelf life is. You don't know if you're going to be in it 6 months, 6 years, 20 years. No idea. You can walk into the ring, your first match, land on your head, and be paralyzed. Then what do you have? So looking back, the advice he gave me made sense. So I went to college. I started out in business administration. I made it to almost my degree, and I had like maybe 8 classes left, if that. And I got so sick and tired of sitting in a classroom. I was like, this isn't it. And I started thinking, okay, if wrestling does take off, if I am successful, if I do get a contract, if I do all this stuff, and let's say my shelf life's 10 years with a big company, when I get done wrestling with that company, I'm going to have to go and recertify. I'm going to have to learn all the new tax codes, all the new laws, all the new everything. So I was like, well, shoot, I'm just spending my time and money putting something into something that I'm going to have to do again in however many years. So I thought, fire always cooks food. Might as well just go into culinary. So I thought culinary was going to be a solid backup plan because even if I never touch it again, at least I know how to cook for myself. It's not wasted. So I jumped ship on the business classes and I jumped into culinary. And I really fell in love with it. And I burned the heck out of myself a couple times. There were some rough ones, but being able to be creative in the kitchen is amazing to me. It's an amazing outlet because cooking, there is no real science to cooking. You can throw whatever you want together into a pot and you never know how it's going to turn out. Yeah, you have recipes and you have guidelines, but a lot of cooking is based on your palate alone. Baking is a whole nother world. You cannot do the same with baking. Do not try and make the two mesh together. Baking is a science. You have to be exact with mesh. But with cooking, it's an escape for me. And I cook every single night. It doesn't matter if I work 12-hour days, 15-hour days, 3-hour days. I'm constantly in the kitchen.
Okay, so let's put it like this then. What is Michaela Smith's signature dish? And what is Samantha Starr's signature dish?
Listen, Samantha Starr has to eat chicken and rice whether she wants it or not. Listen, it's just with dieting and being an athlete, you eat the same foods over and over again. So you got to learn to like chicken and rice. Even if you don't like it, you've got to convince yourself you do. Michaela's signature dish is definitely banana pudding. That will knock your socks off. My biggest weakness is my sweet tooth. That's in life in general. I don't have many weaknesses, but my sweet tooth is definitely a weakness. And I learned how to make banana pudding, and it's just gotten better and better each time. It's amazing.
So your signature dish as Michaela is banana pudding, and then chicken and rice for Samantha. Is it like jerk chicken? Is it just baked chicken, broiled chicken, or is it just anything that isn't fried chicken?
So I don't do a lot of salt. We hardly ever eat salt in my household. It's just a dietary thing. Just don't eat it. So I throw chicken and rice together however I can. Chicken and rice with fajita peppers, chicken and rice, like lemon pepper chicken and rice, even barbecue chicken and rice, just everything. You've got to throw seasoning on it to make it taste different than just plain chicken and rice. And when you're eating it 3 to 4 times a day, every day for weeks at a time, it sucks sometimes. I will be the first person to say that you cannot rely on motivation. You cannot rely on water. Like, you just have to tough it out. And there's so many times that whenever you're dieting really strict and you're like, I really do not want chicken and rice, and you actually get nauseous thinking about eating it. So unless you're about that lifestyle, do not try to be that lifestyle because it sucks. Dieting sucks.
Oh man. Well, switching gears from dieting to the Crockett Cup this weekend, you're not the only multi-generational wrestler in this. Ricky Morton's son is in the tournament. You got a spot in the show. What is it like for you, not only being third generation, but meeting other younger talent that are second or third generation, like say Kevin Von Erich's kids, they're third generation as well. that you guys, is it almost like, you know, how do I put this? Not a fraternity because you're female, that would put you in a sorority, but just this kind of club that, you know, you guys instantly have this weird bonding connection? And or is it like, oh, you're that guy's kid from that guy's promotion, this person's kid from this promotion, whatever, and just kind of go your own ways?
So it's such a unique relationship. I've never met a generational wrestler that I didn't like. We we all kind of grew up the same. We all kind of grew up with our parents on the road, whether we were on the road with them or not. We all got exposed to the wrestling business at a really young age. We all learned how to be entertainers, so we're all funny as hell. Um, Carrie and I've known Carrie since he was probably 4 years old. Like I remember when he was tiny and being able to like pick him up and watching him like go throughout the stages in his life and talking to him like whenever he was in his early teens and then whenever he was doing all the musicals and stuff. So Carrie and I have been really, really close for a really long time just because even if it was from a distance, like I watched him grow up. With other generational wrestlers, we all kind of just have this unspoken pact where it's like, cool, yeah, same thing, same thing. We all just joke about how we're at where our parents were 20 years ago, that kind of stuff. So it's a unique bond. We definitely, I think we feel differently towards each other than we do about other wrestlers. There's no disrespect to first generation wrestlers. Absolutely no problems with them whatsoever. I love and applaud anyone that steps into the ring. But the generational wrestlers are just like, yeah, because we have a pressure on us that no one really sees, nobody really talks about, no one really knows, that eyes are on us before we even take our first bump. People are always going to compare us to our family, whether it be our dad, our mom, our uncle, whoever in the wrestling business is related to us. We're automatically going to carry that reputation with us, whether we've met that person or not. That could be your long lost brother from three families ago, but you're always going to have that connection. So being a generational wrestler, you have the pressure of, okay, you've got to live up to your family name. You've got to be as good on the mic and as good with the psychology as Jake the Snake. You've got to have the emotions and the expressions as Baby Doll. You've got to be able to do the backflip like Sam Houston. You gotta do all these things, and it's just like, whew, we have that pressure on us, even though we don't let it take us down. We don't let it like affect us in the ring. It's still part of our brain. It's still part of our mentality that even if we don't sit down and have a powwow about it, we all know it's there. I know Carrie feels pressure. His dad's Ricky Morton. Who wouldn't feel pressure? The biggest baby face on the earth? Come on. So the one thing I really admire about NWA is they're not afraid to bring in generational wrestlers and their parents. They'll throw us together and say, hey, listen, this is who you need to watch. And yeah, we might have doubters in the crowd that are saying, oh, they'll never be as good as this person. Heck no, put them side by side or throw them in a tag team match together and see the magic that they create. How many people are lucky enough to say that Ricky Morton's my dad and I'm his tag team partner? That's so cool to be Carrie Morton. And for me to be able to say, yeah, I'm a third generation wrestler. Yeah, my mom was the perfect 10 baby doll. She managed the likes of Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Magnum TA, Gino Hernandez. The list goes on and on. But guess who she's managing at the Crockett Cup? Me, because I am good enough. She's going to be in my corner because I do hold up to those names. And the NWA believes in that. And that's one of the things that I really, really love and admire about the company.
Especially after 75 years of being in business, having the original world's heavyweight championship, keeping it going. Let's put it to you like this. Okay, so since Ricky and Carrie are in a tag team together, would you ever want to be in a mixed tag match with your dad being as a part of the team? Or well, I think your mom probably doesn't want to ever get back in the ring at this point, because I've heard her say that in interviews. Or would you want to do just a straight female tag with your mom?
I think the opportunity to tag with my mom would be awesome. I don't think it'll ever happen. I think she would in a heartbeat if I asked her to. But I worry too much about my mom because she takes care of my nephew Ryder. He's 8 years old and he is a ball of energy. So even though I think my mom can hold her own in the ring, I don't want to put her at risk and be stove up, not being able to run down an 8-year-old little boy. So like when it comes down to someone that can still do a backflip, 6'4" and what, 60 years old? Yeah, my dad and I have never tagged together, so I think that would be a cool moment too.
Mixed tags are becoming a big thing. So father-daughter mixed tag. I don't think we've seen that yet.
I have body slammed my dad before. So yeah. Fresh out of we went to training one of the first times he and I had ever even been around each other. Uh, we ended up in a wrestling ring and I was learning, I was young at the time. I was 16, 17 maybe. And I was learning how to do body slams. And he was like, "You can body slam me." And I was terrified. He's taller than me, he's bigger than me, he's heavier than me. And you want me to body slam you? I didn't want to hurt him. But I did it. I got him up and he took it like a champ. So even after all these years, he can still go with the best of them.
It's fantastic to see that your family is still physically and mentally healthy after all these years, and that you are able to retain a sense of normalcy in an industry that is completely abnormal.
I mean, I never claimed to be normal. So I mean, we all knew it was wrestling. And I think the thing that benefited me so much was both of my parents were generational wrestlers. Their parents wrestled. So they grew up knowing what it was like growing up in the wrestling business. So when they had children, they already knew what they were exposed to. They already knew how to be kids in the back. They already knew the pressure and the lifestyle and the challenges. So my mom took that and immediately taught me how to protect myself and how to be professional and how to be respectful and not be one of the girls that's sitting on laps trying to get favors just because they're a pretty little girl. So I think one of the benefits was being third generation because my parents had already gone through the growing pains of being a kid in the wrestling business. My dad had his first match when he was like 14 years old. He had no training. You trained on the road. You trained in your matches. And it was just like we need somebody, and he was right there. So I was lucky enough to learn from their experiences. They were able to pass that knowledge on to me.
All right, let's fast forward 14 years from now. All right.
From now?
From now, 14 years from now.
Oh, I got back home.
You've already become NWA Women's World Champion. You know, you've had your successful career in the NWA. You're now retired. Is the dream to open up a restaurant or your own promotion?
That's tough. I always wanted a wrestling themed restaurant. It was one of my projects for my graduation was to create a menu and to create the items and everything. I definitely think the menu would change from however long ago, whenever I was in college, but I think that my heart would be wrestling based restaurant, just because I like feeding people. I like seeing them happy. You can make such amazing memories through food. And I love wrestling, I really do. But I think that having that creative ability through food would be much more fun for me.
Why do I have a feeling you burning the chicken hurts more than taking a suplex? Like internally, not physically.
Because you're right. 100%. I am so passionate about cooking that if I mess up, even if it's just to me, because I have really high standards with what I present to people, even if I feel personally that it's not up to standard, it rocks me a little bit. It does.
So that's what rocks your confidence.
Yeah. I mean, definitely getting kicked in the face during wrestling sucks, but I know that that's just physical pain. I don't feel like a failure whenever I get suplexed or kicked in the face. I feel a little bit of a failure whenever I burn something.
All right, let's do this then. Hypothetical situation. All right. In the early 90s, every person that was in the WWF, now WWE, had a vocational gimmick, right? Somebody was a garbage man, somebody was a fitness trainer, somebody was whatever, a hockey player.
Yeah.
Like everybody had a side job from professional wrestling. This will never fly, but this is just fantasy booking. Your next rival will be someone that just can't cook and butchers everything that they try to make, and it drives you absolutely bonkers. Like you're sitting there and yelling at Chopped on Food Network when you see them screw something up.
I would love that. You would get such raw emotion out of me if their manager, like hypothetically, if their manager was a food critic that was telling them it was amazing, like 100% gaslighting them and saying, yes, cook the chicken more. It's okay. Your sauce is lumpy. That's fine. Keep going. It would drive me up a wall. I would snap. I would end up being like completely bonkers.
I would so love to spend one afternoon just watching Food Network shows with you.
I'm very competitive. I am very much into sports. I'm very much into being the best at whatever you do. So when I watch Food Network, I yell at the TV. And I know it's not. I know it's not normal. I know that when I sit there and I judge people and I'm like, what are you doing? I know my neighbors think I'm crazy. I do. I 100% do. Because I'm screaming about cupcakes. And they don't understand what it's like to be so emotionally connected to cupcakes that I'm never going to taste. I don't have to put that in my mouth. So they just don't get it. They just don't get it. But I'm a blast.
That's why I'd want to sit there and watch just like 2 episodes of Chop, And why is it on that show that the ice cream machine never works and people keep trying to make ice cream?
It's because people keep trying to make ice cream with stuff that doesn't go in ice cream, and then the machine breaks, and then they're like, "Oh, I wonder what we're gonna do next." It's a never-ending cycle. It's a never-ending cycle.
Whereas I'm just convinced they bought it from McDonald's because the McDonald's ice cream machine never works.
That is a rumor that I've heard multiple times. I'm just saying, when I owned my Sonic Drive-In, my ice cream machine never broke.
So professional wrestler, chef, restaurateur, gimmick table worker, ring crew at some point because you got to learn how to put up the ring and take it down. What haven't you done in the industry yet? And also, before actually we get to that, what haven't you done in the industry yet that you want to compete with? What sports did you compete in when you were younger and in school?
So I grew up playing soccer. I started whenever I was 4 years old, and I stuck with it up through my senior year of high school. So I was huge into soccer. I was the varsity captain for 3 years of my high school soccer team. I was picked for all conference my senior year. And granted, I got hurt a lot playing soccer because I would play with such passion and such just drive that I was not afraid. My body was just a pawn in the game. So soccer was my big thing whenever I was playing. I did play volleyball for a little while, but I didn't like the whole everyone's a great volleyball player. Everyone's doing amazing, because I did not think everyone was doing amazing, and it's not sportsmanlike to say you suck, you missed that shot. You need to do better, jump higher. So I saw myself out of that team just because the coach was very good job, nice try, way to put in effort. That made me sick to my stomach, and I wasn't going to be on a team that was just giving everybody a pat on the back for showing up. So big into soccer, and then I thoroughly enjoy watching football. I will fight somebody over football. I get a little too intense, a little too passionate. Huge Tom Brady fan, huge Rob Gronkowski fan. I was a Patriots fan for forever, since 2006, whenever I started watching. So then whenever they joined Tampa, I definitely cheered for Tom and Gronk on Tampa. But with them both being retired now, it's just back with the Patriots and figuring out what our roster is doing.
Oh no, a Southern girl rooting for the Patriots. That's got to be a problem somewhere.
It is a problem with everybody because everybody hates the Patriots and they can suck it. Sorry.
Listen, everyone gets jealous of greatness.
You said what?
I said,
Greatness? Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I've been a fan. They always call like bandwagon fans and cheaters and all this stuff. I've been a fan of the Patriots since I started watching the NFL. And it was 2006 when I started watching. And I was just gravitated towards the Patriots. And I learned about football and I studied it and I paid attention to stats and I just fell in love with the Patriots. I really did, and stuck with them up until now. Still, I buy jerseys that I don't want to wear out in public because I don't want to ruin them because they're expensive. But I love it. I absolutely love it. And people talk junk, and it just ah frustrates me.
just remind them the Carolinas have to share a team.
Yeah, so what was funny was I was so bound and determined to see Tom Brady and Gronk play together. So Tampa Bay was playing against Carolina Panthers. It was December 26th. It was the day after Christmas, and I bought tickets on a whim. It was one of those things where I was like, I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to see them again. Like, what am I going to do? Screw it. I'm buying tickets. I don't care if it's the day after Christmas. I'm buying tickets. So I bought tickets. I took my husband. We went. Of course, I'm wearing a Gronk jersey, and we're sitting in Carolina, like in Carolina, and they just brought Cam Newton back to Carolina, and I'm not a Cam Newton fan. So, of course, where everybody's a Panthers fan, I'm wearing Gronkowski and I'm cheering for Tampa Bay. And there were some girls that were like 3 rows down from me. And I told you, I'm very obnoxious when it comes to sports because I do not care. It is competitive. I am going to give blood, sweat, and tears. Like, I understand that I'm in this state of fan, but they're going to hear me. On the field, they're going to hear my voice. So these 3 girls that were decked out in Carolina Panthers stuff, Cam Newton this, and it was just dumb. They're playing against each other. And Cam gets the ball and he does his little Superman pose and he does the run and tries to make it to first down. And I'm screaming, hit him! Hit him! Like as loud as I can. They got the first down. The 3 girls did this stupid little cheer where they clapped their hands and said, first down. Pissed me off. But what made it better was Tampa Bay just wiped the floor with Carolina. It was so bad that the majority of the fans decided at halftime that they were leaving and not coming back. So every time the Tampa team scored, I'm like screaming and yeah, let's go. And they kept looking back at me. And my husband, who's non-confrontational whatsoever, he's looking at me because he knows that they're looking at me. And he knows that I'm not going to back down, whether that's 3 or 30 of them. So I'm like, I don't care. And I got louder. And they ended up being one of the groups to leave at halftime before they got kicked down the stairs.
So your husband's the introvert of the family.
He likes people. He's good with conversation. Like whenever I'm out in public, I kind of like have tunnel vision. Like I try to be very focused because I'm like a squirrel. I will end up getting on a boat with a stranger and not thinking twice about it. So I try and like center myself whenever I'm out in public, but he's the type of guy that people are going to be like, "Sup, big man, how you doing?" and start a conversation and tell them their whole life story. So we're interesting.
Listen, so long as you guys are making it work, one of you has to be the one that sends the food back at the restaurant when they undercook the chicken.
It's going to be me.
Yeah. Your husband will be the one that risks
It's going to be Yeah, he's going to be like, it's fine. It's medium rare. It's fine. It's just a little pink in the middle. It's fine.
Yeah, if it's steak or fish, that's fine. If it's chicken or pork, you're in for a world of hurt.
He'll step it out so he doesn't have to be the one to say, "Hey, this is wrong," and I will be the one saying, "Hey, this is wrong. Do you want me to cook it myself? Because I will."
So what is left for you to accomplish? You have multiple titles. You know, you're in a promotion that has treated your family exceptionally well over the decades. that you're still a legacy player within the NWA. You're a part of the Crockett Cup this weekend, June 3rd and 4th. Sorry, Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, I'm getting my days mixed up. You know, and all of it being put together, that, you know, it's all converged at this moment for you in this legacy aspect of your career. What's left to accomplish in professional wrestling?
My dream is to hold one of the NWA titles. I've held titles all over the country. I've been a champion for years and years and years. I've even retired titles. I've been the first person to win titles, but I don't think any of those titles would mean as much to me as winning one of the NWA titles. And you have the NWA Women's World Championship, the Burke, that is held by Camille for over 700 days now. It's absolutely insane. And then you have the new women's television title that Kenzie Page holds. And then you have the women's tag team titles. So I think a major accomplishment, a major just notch in my belt would be to put my name down in the history books, an NWA women's champion.
Well, let's hope that that goal gets accomplished within the next year or so.
We'll see.
So tell us what to expect this weekend at the Crockett Cup on pay-per-view from the National Wrestling Alliance.
The Crockett Cup is absolutely insane. You have 24 teams going head-to-head to win the Crockett Cup, the coveted tag team championship, or the tag team tournament. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that? And for the women, on Saturday during the pay-per-view, we have a 4 versus 4 women's hardcore team war challenge. So what happens with a hardcore team war, weapons are allowed, which is absolutely insane to me because I have a really pretty face and I don't want someone messing it up. So that means that I have to use weapons and be a little bit faster, a little bit tougher. But I'm currently set to tag with the NWA Women's Tag Team Champions for M95, Mr. Kate and Maddie Rankowski. And we also have Rosa Negra on my team, who has been head-to-head with Camille several times. And then, of course, I have the perfect 10 baby doll in my corner. So it's us 4 versus Pretty Empowered. You have Kenzie Page, Kylie Page, Ella Envy, and Riley. So when it's elimination style, you either get pinned, submitted, or over the top, and you have to eliminate people to win the match. It's not the first pinfall wins. It's you start out with 2 people, and the winner of their match, they get eliminated. Let's say that the loser gets eliminated, they get to pick who they want off the remaining 3, and you just run through the team. So we're all going to see ring action unless the first person chosen just wipes out all 4 of them. So it's going to be hard hitting for the women during the Crockett Cup. And then you also have Camille, the 700-day women's champion, facing off against Natalia Markova for the title as well. So not only do you have the 24 teams going head-to-head for the Crockett Cup, but you also have solid women's matches throughout the weekend to mix it up and keep you on your toes.
I love it. The perfect knockout. Samantha Starr, where can we find you on social media if we want to connect with you?
I am on social media at Perfect Knockout, on Facebook, on Instagram. I'd say Twitter, but I got hacked and I can't recover it. So that sucks. But Samantha Starr on Facebook and Instagram at Perfect Knockout.
Perfect. Stick around for a couple of minutes. I wanted to tell you something off the record so I don't look too stupid for the general viewing audience, but I think some people already think I am. Check out Samantha Starr Tuesday nights at 6:05, keeping that TBS tradition alive for the NWA on NWA Powerrr, and this weekend on pay-per-view for the NWA's Crockett Cup. Samantha Starr, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.